What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are at On the Ropes with Travis Lee. If you don't know me, my name is Travis Lee. It looks a little bit different today. We do not have Michael. Instead, I got Tom Hrametz here. If you cannot tell where we are currently here at Marian Catholic High School, all the way out in Chicago Heights in the Chicago area here, doing Warrior Wrestling number 5, one of the local companies we got going on right now. And Tom over here is one of the lighting designers, and by one of the lighting designers, I mean the only people who do lights are me and Tom. So we set up the lights, and Tom programs in his basement and stuff at home. So, but Tom originally got started as a wrestler.
I wouldn't necessarily say wrestler. Let's just say I trained.
Okay, so what made you? So what happened that went from switching from wrestling training over to light production instead? What can cause that transition?
Well, the company that I was with when I was training, I was doing a little bit of strobe lighting in the stands and stuff like that. Nothing like this. Nothing crazy. I believe this is a calling that has been calling me for years and years and years. I don't think I was called upon to be a wrestler. I think I was called upon to help the wrestlers. So that's why I give them that flash, that spark, that shine that they need.
And when was your and also, guys, Tom is also the freelance wrestling lighting designer as well here in the city. So they were your first show originally. How long have you been with freelance now?
This month is going to be 1 year.
Awesome.
So I've turned that place on its head in 1 year.
So what made you decide to go, instead of just doing the strobe lighting, because like you said, you were doing the training, you were doing the strobe lighting. Obviously, like I said in the introduction, you started doing programming. Oh, this is great, guys. Oh. Awesome. So as you can see, we got great testing going on in the background. All right. You good, Ian? So, okay, well, as you see, guys, that's what happens when you're live on scene at Warrior shows. So, like I was saying, you're saying it's been a year now that you've been with freelance. How did you get involved there? Because I know when you were wrestling, when you were doing training, at least it was with a company who's no longer around, really. And so, how did you go from strobe lights to doing the lighting design that you do now? Because because originally your first thing you ever designed was just, he set up the arch that, if you see it in the background here lit, that arch that we have set up, he was literally just setting up and running lights at his house for random pay-per-views when friends would come over. So how did you get from just doing it fun at home for just parties and stuff like that with wrestling pay-per-views to actually finally being able to get in touch with Nick and stuff and be able to get to where you are now? Because you've been with Warrior, and this is Warrior 5, you've been here since 2, and so you've been with freelance now for a year. How did that progress from just doing the stuff you were doing at home?
All right, so it's an interesting story. So I was at my mother-in-law's house, and she had an LED strip that she bought from Costco, and I noticed that it ran and it changed colors and this and that, and I was like, wow, that would look really cool around a TV. And then when the Entrances come out, they all got color to them, so I was like, all right, well, play with this a little bit. So I did, threw some strobe lights in there. I did that, and then something just got into me. I was like, man, I'm really good at this. I think I should try to learn a little bit more. So I bought 2 moving heads, 2 par cans, put behind my speakers and on top of my speakers, and I programmed them to WrestleMania in my living room.
And which WrestleMania was your first one when you started that one?
The one in Florida. What was that? That was the one in
Tampa?
Or
no, Orlando. Was it that? Was Orlando year?
Yes, Orlando. It was the big with New Day hosting. Yeah. So I did that, and then it was off to the races. I did. They're all on YouTube at TruckerBoy0722. If you go to YouTube, you'll see all the videos. There's like 72 videos.
Tom also has those on his Facebook as well. And if you go on the Facebook page, we had the live videos from yesterday as well, to where Tom is tagged in those, and you can find Tom through Facebook as well on the page. So yeah, I mean, and then so how did you get in touch with Nick, and how did that relationship come about of you finally getting to actually start the shows?
Yeah, so my wife, right, my wife was like, this is getting too big, it's too loud, the kid has to go to sleep, she's got to go to school the next day, it's got to get out of the house. So then I contacted my buddy Hayden, and he was like, okay, I'll see what my dad says about the garage. And then he said, we're good to go in the garage. So I did it in a 2-car garage. I did WrestleMania in New Orleans in the garage with that truss, moving lights, strobes galore. I mean, it was awesome. And then I took those to Freelance and talked to a representative over there, and they got me in touch with Nick, and then it was off to the races. I showed him the video, and I was like, hey, would you watch WrestleMania like this? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then I'm like, how would you like this to be your entranceway? And they were like, oh, yeah. So within a month, we had a deal going, and I was there running shows, and I've been there ever since. And now it's just been getting progressively bigger. And now with Warrior, I got this, or with Freelance, I got Warrior, and so on and so on. And hopefully it's just going to keep building, and I'm maybe going to start getting into the MMA world. So this is going to get nuts. I'm pretty sure.
So you've been with Freelance for a year.
Yep.
Warrior 2 is when you started here. How did you? I mean, we all know Steve. Steve's a nice dude, and if you guys have not heard of Warrior, Steve is the owner, the founder, the promoter. He prints off papers. He helps set up chairs. He helps rope off some of the bleachers. Steve pretty much does whatever needs to be done at this point, and it's pretty much his baby. So
we're a part of
it.
And we're a part of it.
And I know Steve likes a lot what we've done with what we got. So how did Steve find out about you? Since at the time you were really only doing your garage and Freelance at the time. So how did you go from small little Logan Square to a little bit bigger in a company with Warrior who gets the bigger name guys? To how did that relationship culminate for you guys?
It's funny. I was pitching myself to a couple other companies the morning of, and then I get a ding in my messenger on my Facebook, and it's Nick from Freelance, and he's like, "Oh, the Warrior Wrestling boys want to talk to you," and then literally email, phone call in the evening. Great, Tom, this is wonderful. We need you to come in. Our lighting guy is not with us anymore. He was a part of upstaging, which they brought in lights for donation, and it was just off to the races again. One other one, and now I've been coming back and back, and it's been getting better and better and better every time I come.
Yeah, this is our second Warrior together.
This is our second Warrior.
I think this is our.
There will be a third Freelance on next Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're on our 5th or 6th show now together since we've started working together. So
you're a good help. I really like working with you.
I appreciate that. So it's fun. We enjoy what we do here, so we can't. We don't ever get to complain.
A little too much, but
that's how it goes when you're in production.
That's true. That's true.
If you had to say, if you could pick any show to run lights for right now, what would be your dream one to get to do next? If costs and for you guys who don't know, Tom and I have talked about stuff, and he's working on starting his company, and we've talked a lot about that stuff. So if all the LLC stuff was already done, you didn't have to worry about any of the logistics. If you could pick whatever show it is you wanted to do next, what would be your next dream wrestling show to do?
I think Evolve would be pretty cool to get my hands on. I think Ring of Honor is already locked down, but I think Evolve would be pretty cool, or maybe MLW. I think MLW could benefit from this
because they come here a few times a year so
they
far.
Do.
So because we went to the first one that they did here, what is that, 6-7 months ago?
I haven't been to one yet.
Yeah, that was where I first showed him the Lucha Bros. So that was they were there.
They're gonna be here tonight.
So yeah, we have crazy shows here. Obviously, this is going to come out after the event has already happened. There will be live videos that we're doing today. So if you want to check out some of the entrances and stuff, we're going to have a lot of the backstage scenes and extra footage that we're going to release.
Show you the set.
We got the sets up. As you can see, obviously it's a little blocked. We got the steel cage match first, so that's already good to set up. But yeah, man, it's been crazy to see just how quickly we've evolved in the 4 or 5 shows we've done together already, and the setup. We've gone from having just the arch to putting pars up in the corners and the movers on the actual ring to where we're doing strobes in the ring now.
Oh yeah.
And
it's only going to get bigger.
And Tom's running this all on his own. He got no investors. He's got no backers. All this production you see of Tom's stuff is Tom. His time, his money, all of it is Tom. His transportation. We pack everything into his tiny ass little mini piece of crap SUV, half-size car. and to where there's 3 of us trying to squeeze in the car to get to events.
Yeah, hey, it worked. I got everything in.
Everything you see, man, is all Tom, and so far it's, if you go on and we'll talk about it in a second too, you can watch everything we do here at Warrior. You can watch Freelance as well online. Tom here knows the links to where they do, where you can watch Warrior online.
I believe it's highspots.com, and then Freelance is independentwrestling.tv.
Right. So everything and then on top of it, like you said, you have your YouTube page, a bunch of your stuff's on Facebook. Like I said, in the last few days, people will see our live videos of what you've done.
Yep.
So yeah, man, it's been great having you. We're gonna
launch I Illuminate events this year. So
yeah, and so you guys are working on that. You and your wife are working on doing the LLC and all that kind of stuff.
We're working on that as we speak. Yes.
And so really before I started helping Tom, his help was just his nephew, and really most of that was just kind of the
students.
I know most of the stuff for them was just, hey, plug this in, tape this down. But for most of the first year for you, it was just you knowing how to program and run kind of the DMX and stuff like that. And then we met a few months ago, and it's kind of been...
That's when I turned the stage up. That's when I turned the stage up and went to the ring.
Right. So we amped up after we got together and talked a little bit, and then...
You have to make people a part of the experience. What I've learned doing this is that the entranceway is awesome. It's cool for the wrestlers. They get it. It's all the lights moving in sequences to their music. It works. But you have to get the crowd in order. And that's why I put the lights up on the trusses, because then you're making the crowd a part of the experience, and they appreciated the hell out of it at the last Freelance show.
It's one of those things where it's like you can't rely on, like, don't get me wrong, we have amazing wrestlers both here at Warrior and at Freelance.
Yeah.
But if you don't get people into that hyped up zone, by the time they're doing crazy stuff, especially when you have guys like we do, like we see with the Lucha Bros, Gringo Loco, and stuff like that, these guys do these crazy high-flying moves. If we haven't amped them up with their entrances and with the songs they come into, with the lights that you and I do here and all the fog and stuff like that, if there's no engagement before or after the actual match, the match involvement's going to be like you see currently with WWE's problem is the promos aren't really the promos and the stuff is not really connecting.
That's true.
To where if you watched Raw last week, and even SmackDown, you had you had the Usos and Daniel Bryan and Rowan for the tag team titles, and it was just dead fucking silent.
Yeah.
So if you don't have, like you said, if you don't have that experience with it, and that's part of what's great about Warrior, we have the fan fest. They get to meet these people, they get to do all of that, then they get to come in here and see the people that they were just talking to face to face, jump off the top of a cage. We had LA Park last time, pulled the shirt of the ref up, poured beer on him, then slapped the crap out of him with a leather belt.
You could hear that all over. That was crazy.
So I mean, we have you have that experience, and then especially when you get to places like here, or especially more at Freelance too, is such, as they say with their shirts, Freelance is home. If you get any of their Freelance gear, it says Freelance is home. And if you go to shows, it doesn't matter whether it's your first time or your millionth time at Freelance. People treat you like you've been there forever. If you come by yourself, it's not going to feel like you came by yourself.
No, it's a crazy atmosphere.
And then you put those crazy, because in my opinion, Freelance fans are nuts. And then you put and then especially with you got dudes like Darren Corbin coming out the way he does with the crazy lights that we do, and the way he just stands there while people are literally just yelling in his face this close to him, and just dead face. It's great, you know what I mean?
It was I like the last one where he's just like.
These guys.
He was just taking it.
Right, and these guys feed off that, and it's the same thing. They get to meet these guys every time. These guys are behind their own merch tables these shows.
Yes, all of them are pretty much,
So we're getting closer to the end here. Unfortunately, we got production meetings to do. The perks of doing
I still
a
have
podcast,
to tune in some stuff.
The perks of trying to do a podcast and finish production for the show on the same day. Sweet.
So if you want to keep going,
Oh, yeah, we're going to keep going. I'm just saying we're just getting towards the end. So So we're going to hit my favorite segment, Ian. Don't Fuck It Up, Vince. This is a fan favorite of ours that we have on the podcast where we talk about things we want Vince McMahon not to fuck up. And today's going to be a really short segment because we're at Warrior. Vince can't fuck anything up today.
Yeah.
So if anything fucks up, blame Tom. So now we do some small segments. So
okay.
The segment that we're really going to do, obviously we like to joke around here and mess around. It's part of what we do. So one of my favorite segments that we do is wrestlers to watch. So out of the shows we do with Freelance and Warrior here, who would you say, in your opinion, is a male talent that people are not watching a lot of, or who might not be heard of a lot, that you think people should be paying more closely attention to?
Out of everybody, you know what? I'd have to say Pat Monix. You got to be looking at Pat Monix.
Okay, and for what reason should you be looking at Pat?
He completely
Monix?
changed his gimmick. He said that it Project Monix. So I believe it. I've seen it, and I think people need. He's a damn good wrestler. People need to be putting more eyes on Pat Monix. And out of here, I mean, everybody's pretty much big stars. You got Brian Cage. You got Austin Aries. I mean, the first match tonight is a cage match. Austin Aries, Brian Cage, and Wardlow. You know?
And that's why I said, like, even with the Freelance guys, who would you say is the top guy in Freelance that should be getting? Because we got guys like Velasquez who gets attention. We got people like Kylie Ray who's going to AEW, and we have GPA and stuff. But who would you?
Ethan Page.
Right, and Ethan Page who's already on Impact. So it's like, who would you say that we have that people should pay attention to in Freelance, male-wise?
Man, there's so many people that come in and out of Freelance. Like, it's...
Out of the mainstay of Freelance, so like Bucky Collins, Darren Corbin, like the guys who
I think Darren Corbin.
Freelance guys.
I think Darren Corbin and Craig Mitchell. I got it. Craig Mitchell, he's going to have hopefully he has the title this year. Mm-hmm. Both titles, the Freelance Underground and
that would be interesting for them to do.
Yeah.
Because right now it's Ethan Page with the Freelance one.
But Ethan Page and Craig Mitchell?
That'd be a great match.
I think it would be.
So, and then same question, except we're going to go to the women's side. Who would you say, out of the people we work with on a consistent basis, is a female wrestler that people should be paying more attention to?
Oh, there's Thunder Rosa. There's Lady Luck, I believe. She's pretty good.
And Thunder Rosa has a little bit, because she was also in Lucha Underground. Mm-hmm. So but that was as Cobra Moon. So she has a little bit of it. Yeah, Lainey's very good. She's newer to us too, I believe, because she came from Texas. Yeah. Right? We got her she came from Reality Wrestling, I believe. Down there.
Does she do that? Is that Shudder? Is that Shudder, the women's wrestling that they do? It's Shudder?
Shimmer?
Shimmer.
Yeah.
Shimmer. There's so many independent wrestlers out there and talent out there. When you go to these shows, you never even heard of this person. They come in and it's like they just blow you away. Yeah, because obviously that's a hard question to ask.
Right, because obviously we can say Kylie Ray but she is getting a little bit of the acknowledgement with AEW and stuff. But we've been saying, if you've watched Kylie Ray at Freelance for the many times we've seen her, it's like, of course she should have gotten the recognition that she's got. She's got the charisma, she's got the talent. But like, even of people we've had recently, like Maria Manic. I think Maria's she's got a great personality.
I should have said her.
The way she carries herself is great, and her the way she can show off her strength, even when she wrestles the dudes, she's picking up these big dudes too. And it's like, everyone can say wrestling is partially fake all they want, but she's still got to have the strength to get that dude in the air.
That's true.
So I mean, we have a lot of people like you said with Lainey Luck as well. I mean, we've seen Solo Darling and Shaza come through as well. Yep. It is a hard question.
She's coming back next Friday
because there's so much that we have, but of mainstay, it's kind of like we have to say Kylie Ray almost, because
you have to, and Britt Baker,
but it's like, because I feel like, at least because like when the whole AEW thing happened and they were doing the big press conference, I was sitting in his room watching off my laptop while we were doing something else, because the rumors were that Kylie was going. Yeah. And all my buddies were like, well, who is she? I'm like, you're an idiot.
Oh, God. How do you not know who Kylie Ray is by now?
So, and that's what I'm saying. So it's like, for some people, it's like that, and it'll show once they do Double or Nothing, especially with the triple threat they got going on for that match. You're going to see and even Nyla, people don't know who she is, and she's going to be great.
That's true.
You know, so at the end of the day, it is a hard question, and it's also a little harder for us because we know these people and we talk to them on a regular basis.
That's the hard part too.
It's kind of like you're picking over your friends a little bit because we have somewhat of a relationship with them.
I mean,
so it's like
there's a lot of talent out there. That's the whole problem.
And Nick does a very good job of getting solid talent to roll through very, very well. And so if you haven't checked out Nick over at Freelance Wrestling, that's another very solid local production here in the city.
Freelance is the PWG of, I believe it's the PWG of the Midwest. With, what I guess you could say Ring of Honor style production. A
little bit. He adds more, it's nice because he adds that comedy feature into his stuff, and that's what's nice about that. So
that's the biggest part. Is there's a little bit of comedy, a little bit of drama, a little bit of serious.
Right. So. And it's like you got these guys have great promo, like with the whole one we had with Ethan Page at the end of the last one and stuff. Like these guys are putting on great promos, great matches. They get involved. The fans get involved. Like I said, we had dudes get this close to each other's faces, scream at each other in the crowd. Sometimes
you cannot get that anywhere but the independent circuit.
One of like I think it was like my second or third freelance show. It was the I Quit match of Kylie and GPA, and I was front row, and she had thrown him over. She had thrown his arms over the barricade and looked at me and the other dude next to me and said, "Hold him down." So she had us hold him down while she sat there and chopped the crap out of him.
Yeah. So the fan interaction is
the fan interaction. Even with here last time, we had dudes getting tossed into the actual fan chair sections.
Yeah.
And so they're very like Sammy Guevara jumping off the ring post into the crowd last time.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Obviously, this was really an episode to kind of highlight what you're doing. If you want to get in contact with Tom, you can contact me. He'll be tagged in this podcast as well, so you can follow him on what he does as well. You're going to see a little bit more of Tom in the future since we worked together. So you'll see a little bit more of him on the podcast on a regular basis. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a production side than actually talking about wrestling, but that's kind of what we wanted to do. We want to have you guys see kind of what we do behind the scenes, and that's kind of why we've been on this hiatus a little bit for the last few months. We've kind of going in a new direction. We started off strong. We popped out 2 episodes within like a 2.5 week span right out the gate. It was very exciting, but I think we really needed to take a little bit more time to figure out how we wanted to go about this, and I think because of that, we're gonna see a much better production in this overall in general. You're gonna get to see a lot more of what Tom does because you're gonna see here. You're gonna see the freelance stuff. I'm now doing audio here at Warrior, so you're gonna get to see a little bit more of what we do behind the scenes when it comes to production, which is a side of stuff that I think people don't see a lot when it comes to these things. And with this now, where you're getting to see a little bit more of not only what it takes to build these productions, but also the excitement that can come out of doing what we've done. Yeah. Because as you said, it started off as you were trained as a wrestler, you started doing some strobe lights, you found an LED strip that you could put behind a TV, and then you ended up getting some couple movers and stuff and doing that. So, it's cool I want to also highlight, obviously we're going to still talk about wrestling, we're going to talk to wrestlers and stuff too, but adding that production side into what we do, especially because that's our careers. So I think it's going to be a good direction. As always, I'll leave it up to you guys. We ask for your questions, your comments, your criticism, your suggestions. As you've known, I'll shout out a dude, David Marsh. He's given me multiple suggestions, and we've taken those into account. And I'll take everybody's opinions and suggestions into account as long as they make sense for us to be able to do those kind of things. So I appreciate the support you've given us, even with us not having put out anything new in a while. Thank you, Tom, for being here with us today.
I appreciate the hell out of you because you have taught me. I'm sorry to.
No, you good, man.
You have taught me the ins and outs of doing the right things in production. And before you showed up, I was doing them, But you just like wrapping the cables the right way and taping down the right way and make sure you do this the right. You really you come in and you've turned my world around. So
that's part of being part of a team in production. Yes, it's a cutthroat world, just like any other kind of entertainment industry.
The entertainment business.
But when you can find a group of people that's there to help you out, like, hey, if you do this, it's gonna not only is it gonna look better, it's gonna be cleaner. We're gonna use less cable. You're not gonna go through as much. When you can work together like that, it always works out better. So, as you can see, guys, we're gonna get close to ending here. You can see the preview of Frank the Clown back here, hanging out with Ego Robert Anthony. They are getting ready. Frank manages Ego, and they are having a match with Brian. Well, Ego's having a match with Brian Pillman, while Frank does his crazy antics as always.
Wait a second. There is a little spin to that. Now, if Ego loses, Brian Pillman gets 5 minutes with Frank.
But if Pillman loses,
he loses his hair.
Remember when we went to MLW, the dude who was when we went to MLW, Pillman was managing Teddy Hart on the match.
Okay.
And the whole show, anything that happened he was Pillman was Facebook living it on his phone, and anytime he would be cheering on Teddy, and anytime something bad would happen to Teddy, he'd be going ooh ah, and he'd be walking. Anytime Teddy would do something good, he'd walk over to fans and be like, that was nice, right? And so if Pillman loses tonight, they shave all his hair off.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see. As you said earlier, the first match is a cage match it's the Warrior title match too, of Cage, Aries, and Wardlow. And then our headline is the first ever women's champion will be crowned of either Tessa Blanchard or Jordynne Grace. So once again, like I said, guys, thanks for being with us here. Like I said, starting to fill up. We'll let that sit there so you can see it a little bit. These guys are getting ready. We're already late to the production meeting, actually. That was probably Steve calling me right now, wondering where we are. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time here on The Ropes.